Check this out. If you're wondering what all that was, it's from a brand new anime called Sentenced to be a Hero. As of recording this, there's only been 2 episodes, and yet somehow in that small amount of time, this anime has already done better than entire seasons of some other recent anime. If you're new here, I'm on a mission to watch every isekai that Crunchyroll has to offer, all in order to prove which ones are actually worth your time. But in my quest to traverse this massive genre, there are a lot of interesting isekai adjacent or just general fantasy anime that really catch my eye too, and Sentenced to be a Hero was one of those anime. If you're completely lost as to what the show is though, it's pretty much if you turn Suicide Squad into an anime. Okay, not that one. Basically, criminals who have committed acts that deserve punishment greater than death are branded as heroes and pretty much are used as pawns by the government, and our main character Xylo is one of those criminals. Literally frame 1 of this anime were graced with some absolute insane animation, and it's like that for the whole episode. Now you might be thinking that just 1 episode doesn't really mean a lot, but to my surprise, this episode was 58 minutes long, and it stayed consistent throughout its entire duration. Even the more low-key talking scenes are pretty well animated. Now I can't say for certain on how the future of this series will turn out because of a certain ninja anime that had a very similar release to this one, but it isn't just incredible fights. The story and characters already have me hooked too. Holy Knights are seemingly in a never-ending war with the Demon Lords. Not just a Demon Lord like we've seen a million times. I mean, this series opens with Xylo fighting the 47th Demon Lord, and it's a straight up massive cockroach the size of a mountain. The criminals, or heroes as they're called in this universe, are branded with these magic seals and then forced to fight these demon lords and their monsters, but rather with a small twist: they can't die. When I said that heroes are criminals that deserve a punishment greater than death, I was being literal. These guys are pretty much sentenced to be immortal. Well, technically they can die if the government wishes it, but in this world, heroes can be magically brought back to life even after death. The only problem is that every time you die, you lose some of your memory and part of yourself. Plus, the condition of your body upon death drastically affects how human you'll still be upon return. Xylo himself seems to be in pretty good shape, so I doubt that he's died many times. Dota can't really remember why he even steals anymore, so he's probably gone out once or twice, and this guy, let's just say he doesn't have much of himself left to lose. You can't just run away either, as the magic seals on your neck can turn you into mincemeat in seconds. Getting awfully similar again. But so with no other choice, Xylo and the rest of the heroes are pretty much forced into doing whatever the government wills, which in the first episode's case was supporting the retreat of the Holy Knights as they have been overrun with blighted monsters. The blight itself kinda acts like the zombie virus that infects all kinds of creatures and turns them into some pretty nasty fighters, which we see firsthand. In JJK, you might remember how before everything took a massive left turn during the Shibuya arc, the show spent a lot of time just fighting surface level curses so we could see how strong all the characters were. But imagine you were just a regular person in those scenarios. Yuji, Megumi, and Nobara are all chillin' since they, have superpowers. But if you, yes, you were fighting those things, that would be scary as hell. And this series actually does a really good job portraying that realistic feel with these monsters. Yes, obviously we end up seeing Xylo do some pretty crazy shit, but we also get these awesome POV shots from the knights having to fight these guys, and it goes to show just how dangerous even the more common enemies are. Now, seeing how powerful these creatures truly are and the threat that they pose, the government also constructed these ancient beings with unrivaled power known as the goddesses. Legend has it that the goddesses take the form of these massive metal giants that shake the earth with every step. Some are even said to exist in a form beyond our comprehension, truly the work of only the most magnificent. Oh. Huh. Well, anyways, this girl Teorita is a goddess, and despite her not looking like what she was expected to, she sure as hell is powerful. Now, I personally tend to hate the small little girl is the most overpowered person in the universe type of trope, but actually I kinda like this one. She can't really use her powers unless she's soulbound to a knight, which doesn't happen until later, and she's honestly a pretty good foil to Xylo. He's this kind of pessimistic anti-hero type of guy that never explicitly states it, but he clearly does care about others even if they don't care about him. And Teorita is this upbeat and naive goddess that isn't really super annoying like I expected. If anything, I found myself actually thinking she was a nice addition that kind of balances out Xylo's darker nature. And if you were looking for a nice addition to your own life this Valentine's Day season, then look no further than today's sponsor, Tokyo Treat. If you're anything like me, chances are you like Japan, but you probably know as well as I do that Japanese snacks and treats can be pretty hard to come by, and that's where Tokyo Treat comes in. Every month, the folks over at Tokyo Treat send out a themed box of authentic Japanese snacks that get delivered straight to your door. They've got chips, candy, sweets, and all other kinds of random goodies that I know I would never find here in the States. And with Valentine's Day on the horizon, this super sweet Valentine's themed box is packed full of treats for you or your significant other. They even have a cultural booklet where you can see exactly what each item is, along with all the necessary details and allergen information that you might need to know all in one place. So if you're looking to pick up a box to treat yourself or a loved one this season, then head on over to my link in the description and use code SHONENSCOPE to get $5 off your first order. Once again, big thank you to Tokyo Treat for sponsoring this video. Now, as for Xylo himself, it still remains to be seen if this is just going to turn into a shitty revenge story, but for now I really like this guy. Just on the surface, his design is already super sick. It looks like he takes a lot of inspiration from Kamina, so right off the bat his character design line is obviously gonna be fire. As for where he gets so many throwing knives, I'm not sure. Loki seems like he has some kind of infinite pocket dimension, but a dagger-wielding main character with a flawed yet noble compass sounds like it's setting up for some pretty awesome stuff. But just as the seals on a hero's neck act as a magic shot caller with more lethal consequences, different kinds of seals can be used for all other kinds of purposes too. So all those tattoos on Xylo's body, they're not just for show. They're markings that give him superpowers, which from what I can tell seems like the ability to fly and imbue his weapons with explosive power. Although his flight seals do seem to act more like enhanced speed and agility than just soaring through the air. Once he's introduced to Teorita though, things get kinda weird because for some reason, he hates her. Matter of fact, he claims he hates all goddesses. And just a few moments later, after saving the lives of a band of holy knights, they turn all their swords on him the moment that they find out he's a hero. While I was watching this along with many others, I got kinda pissed that these guys were threatening him after he literally just saved their lives. And a little later, even more knights threaten him once again after saving all their asses. At first glance, it seems like everyone in this verse is a straight up idiot because of how much they hate heroes, and especially Xylo for like no reason. But once we find out the reason for his mark as a criminal, things become a lot more clear. Some time ago during the era of the 11th Demon Lord, Xylo and his unit had received orders to fight the Lord head on. Apparently Xylo's unit was supposed to fight solo only for a bit and then reinforcements would soon come to aid. But no one ever showed up. In the end, the fight was brutal and ended in the loss of many lives, but most importantly, the loss of a goddess. Xylo had been previously bound to another goddess and used her power without permission in order to defeat the Demon Lord, but in doing so, her power was drained and she fell victim to the Blight. In order to prevent the Blight from consuming her and giving birth to a Demon Lord more powerful than anything ever before, Xylo was forced to kill her. The courts, however, believed in a different story. They claimed that Xylo was given no such order, and that his idiocracy was what caused the loss of so many lives. In a fit of rage, Xylo murdered the goddess, and he was a heartless criminal that deserved the worst punishment of all. And so, he was sentenced to be a hero. They claimed that the very possibility of a goddess being consumed by the Blight was blasphemy, and with the court striking down every possible claim uttered by Xylo, he knew that he had been set up. That day, he vowed to find the person who gave him his orders. He would track down whoever set up his squad and uncover why they did it, and he would kill them. And now, he claims to hate all goddesses because he doesn't want something like that to ever happen again. He says that he could care less about the lives of holy knights or civilians, yet he rushes in to save them over and over. This series has a little bit of exposition, but it mostly does a pretty good job of showing instead of telling. Instead of having some kind of internal monologue where Xylo says that he's putting on a brave face because deep down he's scared, he shows it. He tells Teorita to go find someone else to be her knight repeatedly, and when he finally reaches the moment where he either has to accept Teorita's help and bind with her or run the risk of total mission failure, it's a brutal scene. He's obviously incredibly conflicted, and at first glance you'd probably just think it's because he doesn't want to be reliant on anyone. But after his flashback scene, we learn it's because he's worried about Teorita. He doesn't want what happened to the last goddess to happen to her. He doesn't want another catastrophic failure. Eventually when he does bind with her though, he barely even lets her do anything as to not exhaust her power and run the risk of overdoing it. Even though Teorita herself wants nothing more to be useful and help out. I've always loved the tough exterior with a heart of gold kind of characters, and I'm sure that there are other protagonists out there that are similar to him, but even with only 2 episodes, I already love how Xylo's character is written. There's also some other interesting characters like this guy who is just straight out of Genshin Impact, Kivia who just looks like Esdeath reskinned, and I bet she'll probably get a bit of character development because right now she's low-key an op. This guy who honest to God believes he is a king and was branded as a domestic terrorist for killing his usurpers, and I can't wait to see all the other characters that get introduced as the series continues. In my opinion, this series has the makings of an amazing anime, but it's still way too early to tell how this series will end up because they might have just blown their entire budget on the first few episodes. But if things continue the way they're going right now, it's definitely got a pretty bright future. With amazing action, a compelling story that I haven't really seen before, interesting characters, and amazing art, I've got my fingers crossed, but my expectations are high. So as for if this series is worth your time, absolutely. At least for now, the stuff that's out is incredible and you should give it a watch if you haven't. There is more light novel and manga content out too, but I think I'm gonna stay away from that stuff for this series at least for now. But let me know what y'all think. Anyways, that's about all I've got for you guys today, so I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!